Printed Farms. I'm Jared Gross, your host of Automate Construction, and today we get to tour through this incredible 3D printed building, biggest one in the world, with Jim, the CEO and founder of Printed Farms. Jim, thanks for letting me stop by.
Pleasure to see you again.
You've done an incredible job, and you're done printing now?
We're finished printing, but obviously the job is not complete, as been stated in the press. We're still finishing up, putting in all the final touches on the building. We should have the client moved in by the end of the month. We've had 6 crews working steadily for the last month of July, and obviously, from the shell thing part, which is what Printed Farms does normally, we come in, print the shell, we leave, first in, first out. In this project, I'm the project manager as well, so we have soup to nuts job, turnkey we say, for the client. So,
and this project was the biggest of its kind ever done, and obviously the first on a Cobot printer since no system's ever done it before. Doing something completely new, you ran into some quirks and challenges, of course, and things that you explored.
Yeah, on a building of this size, 10,680 feet or around there, your print area obviously won't cover it.
We'll get to some of that stuff when we get through the
okay.
When we get through the building. And you've got the printer still here. This printer will be disassembled soon?
Yes, we're going to put everything in containers, move to the next job soon. We literally just finished printing a couple weeks ago, and what we're doing now is, this is a horse walker, and it's our first round building. It's a true round building. It's designed to be round because the horses walk in a circle, the machine goes back and forth, it walks to the right so many minutes, walks to the left.
Printed patio columns.
Printed patio columns, and we teamed up with Printed Patios. That's just further proof that you have one printer that prints indoors, prints finer, furniture, if you're doing outdoor kitchens, or in our case, columns, casings. Then we teamed up with Printed Patio, and it's worked out fantastic. We printed the bottom piece, the more structural pieces. We feel we could clean up these prints and just paint if somebody wanted to, because we don't have the penetration of the water that you would have in a normal block building or 2,500 PSI cement. We're a very dense cement, but the client wants the stucco finish. We can walk over here and look at the finish. They wanted this finish, and so of course added cost, but it was a choice.
I think the finish was a really key move to make it a high-end looking structure with the other options, but the white smooth finish looks great.
Yeah, and I think people, should realize that you can 3D print a house and have a stronger, better house for climate events. Like this barn is 10 to 15 degrees cooler without any insulation in its walls than barns I've built with conventional methods. So the strengths of 3D printing isn't just, that it's cheaper, which it really isn't. It costs about the same per square foot as a conventional method, but it's a stronger, better building. And so you have a lot of benefits to this design. But then on the other side, if somebody is used to the conventional finishes, it's very easy to finish it in a conventional manner.
You think this was on parity with traditional construction?
Yeah, we're actually, jobs like this cost, quoted 200 to 250 a square foot, a barn of this style in this area. And we're around, right now, the numbers aren't complete, around 200 a square foot, but a better building. So in a way, you can say we're less expensive for a better product. It's a little like you're getting a Porsche.
I would argue compared to $2 cinder blocks, you're much more expensive.
No, again, if they had built this shell with cinder block, you're still a finished product at 200, 250. That's what they're currently priced out on a conventional building. And we're at around 200. So no, you're coming out the same. So the difference is your shell cost is cheaper.
But you're the builder, so you're talking about the price that a builder would charge you. You are the builder, so there should be margin built in. You should be much cheaper than what a builder would quote you.
We get a margin too. I don't work for free. That's including our margins and everything else. That's the cost of the project.
We might have to run through some more detailed numbers later.
Yeah, I will. No, what you have is when you do a shell conventionally, you don't put in the boxes, you don't put in the rough plumbing, you don't do a lot of times they don't do all the interior walls. In a barn, some situations they do. So a lot of the things that we do in 3D printing, you don't do in the shell work. And we call this a closed shell system. So we come in and under the electrician's license and the plumber's license, we put this all in the building by the time we finish the print. Obviously, insulation would go in there if these walls were insulated. So by the time we're done, you're ready to snap in the windows and doors, and then the GC or the comes back in and comes in with his people and finishes like we're painting. So it's not apples to apples when you compare our prices to a conventional shell. Conventional shell usually is just the exterior walls and the roof. And obviously they have the rebar in, and we also have the rebar. So this is where there's a little disconnect in the numbers.
Plus, there's the entire structural dependency is on the poured columns and rebar on the inside. So you also have all the extra printed concrete. It's going to be incredibly strong in case of a hurricane or something.
Yeah, these buildings are, we call them bunkers. Our material is 6,000 PSI, and it's ICC rated Laticrete material. And so a normal concrete, where you're seeing here the normal pour for this footer on the wash stall, that's 3,000 PSI. So you're only required engineering-wise to have 3,000, but this dense 6,000 PSI material is almost impervious to water entry. Florida, obviously, one of the big problems is you have a very humid, wet climate where you literally have hydrolysis coming into your building and rotting your rebar systems. This is indicative in the Caribbean and everything. Because we're almost impervious to that entry, in our dead air spaces and that, and into, our poured beams, which is poured with this 3,000 mix. This is just a form on our beam above the windows.
Last time we were here, you had all those on the sand over here,
Yep.
and they were prefabricated, and
Yep.
then you filled them?
The porches are prefabricated. We printed all the column forms and these beam forms, and then
printed
we
patio.
set them in place. That beam over the windows was printed in place, and then the last window next to the other porch, that was a prefabricated area because that's where the machine sat. So having done such a large building, one of the challenges is moving the machine, lining up your building again, calibrating it so it's square throughout the building, getting your lines straight. And
You
that
moved
was
the printer 5 times
5 times. And
for this building, and then 1 or 2 more times?
yeah, and then we had 2 smaller buildings where we moved it again. And also when we prefabbed in this section here that we're looking at, that's like a whole extra print. So we really had 6 prints. We had a prefab print and then the 5 moves to print the different sections. And then we spent 6 weeks putting those pieces together where the machine sat on when we were printing. And that's what we call prefabbing. And then, of course, you have all your rebar work and everything in your pours. There's 45 cubic yards of concrete in that beam. It's a continuous pour all the way around the building. It's about 700 feet to go all the way around this building. So that was a massive pour. And that's how we join the prefab pieces that are set in and tie everything together throughout the building.
All of this concrete in this building was produced without formwork other than the concrete itself.
Yeah, we print the form. What the 3D printer does is it prints the walls, it forms, and on smaller prints we can pour on the roof. Like if this had been a cement roof and a smaller print like we did with our shed, we can use the machine to pour so no one's disrupting your rebar work. Excuse me. Especially when you have a cantilevered patio system where your rebar has to be exact or you're going to have a fail. These machines, they can pour a very even surface. Titan, we worked with Titan to get a material that pours to within 1/4 of an inch without floating or screeding. So that is one huge advantage of these systems. Normally you lay your rebar down, then 5 guys walk around and mess it all up as they're moving the concrete around. So there's a lot of positives to these building systems that hasn't been explored yet.
Can we take a walk through?
Yep. So again, this is a luxury horse farm, and this is a, you know, where they wash the horses on the outside. You have this system, you know, for the hot and cold water and lights and everything.
You have a lot of those around the building.
Yeah, we have 4 of these 4 porches and 8 wash stalls. It's a mirror image.
And then a laundry room too, a big laundry room.
We have 2 laundry rooms. We have double of everything. And this is because they're going to rent one half and then they're going to keep their horses in the other half.
And so when you hear the price quote, 200, 250 for a barn, this is why. It's a barn with 2 bathrooms, laundry rooms, water everywhere.
Yeah, these are multi-million-dollar animals. You know,
Common in Wellington, right?
well, yeah, for Wellington, it's not common, but these top sport horses, one of our clients that are moving in here was just on a winning Nations Cup team about a month ago in Denmark. They won the
Congratulations.
Nations Cup, and so they're moving these horses in. They're top athletes. This is an Olympic horses. They're just like any Olympic athlete. They need, you know, all the help: dentists, acupuncturists, chiropractors. They get
You better
new
show them my
shoes.
videos so they appreciate their house.
Here we have the feed room, obviously lined up with where the horses stay. Where we just walked through is where the stalls go, and grain and everything.
What are the lines coming up for is that water?
Yeah, that's the water for the horses' stalls.
Wow.
So we use a PEX system because we can bend it. We've done automatic waters in the past, but this client wants where you have 2 valves and you fill buckets because he wants to monitor how much his horses drink. Every client is different. Pardon?
Automated horse care.
Well, in this case, they're manual water system. This is a storage room. This ladder is here because they're installing the AC system. We put AC in the storage and the feed room, laundry, of course, and tack room because it's so hot and humid here. Without it, we get a lot of, you know, it's just a lot of mold and everything else will develop if we don't AC those houses.
Florida's unforgiving.
Yep. So here's where they brush the horses and do whatever else they have to do with the horses on a daily basis, grooming stalls. I don't know if they saw.
I'll meet you. All right. It's okay.
Okay.
My service is bad, but we got the other side here around the front, and you're able to get all the electrical in, no problem.
Yeah.
Was anything weird?
No, this is all. Here's where the AC unit comes. Again, your ground level is going to come up a foot. We have to be 4 inches above ground level for the pad for the AC unit. The AC unit's going to be at this height. We'll paint this. This has to be exposed by code. It's a little unsightly. Most of the stuff that we do, we set into the wall. You can see here where basically there was a mistake, so we said to the electrician, I need this outlet here. It wasn't hard to run a line down, set it in the wall, we'll stucco over. So people think that it's such a rigid system. No, it's the same as any system. We can punch a hole anywhere, and if this was hollow behind here we had done it previously and stuccoed. So you don't have all these pipes and everywhere that's unsightly. This is our main shutoff valve for the water. Here's an outside hose bib. This here is actually for the tankless hot water heater that's going to sit here, or over here, actually a little bit more. Unfortunately, on this design, it's both commercial and the entryway to the building. We would love to have it over to the side, but here the trucks have to drive in, put in the hay and everything. So you're going to have a road here. Obviously, that's the main human entrance.
Let's go through it.
And then we have the mirror image. Everything's mirrored image.
So how many horses will this ultimately house?
16.
16.
but it has the infrastructure for 30. So they could build a separate barn and add more horses if they want, because they have the main infrastructure and all these wash stalls, grooming areas. I have a farm with 30 stalls, and I have less wash stalls and less grooming areas than this client. Here's our main entrance. This will go out. Obviously, the septic system will be buried, and you'll just go out to the grass. Here we have 2 utility rooms, again mirror image, where the main comes in from the outside. The main electric will come in here, and we're all wired, air conditioned. This system is the Mister system to keep flies out of the building, and that's already installed up through the attic.
How does that work?
It's got a timer and it sprays every 30 minutes.
Sprays water or okay?
These guys are going to be more nature. You can do a fly system.
Deep.
Toilet, there's where the vanity goes, the light will go in there. You can see how they ran the wire through the hollow section and dug it out because the vanity hadn't been bought yet. We didn't know exactly where the light is. This happens in all buildings. You put the light in one spot and then the owner buys a different vanity and it's off center. So we waited to the last minute until the vanity's sitting in here. We said, okay, this is where it's going. And yeah, just a normal toilet system, but you have your stool, your water for your thing. This is actually typical building. I don't know what this is. It's not supposed to be here on the finished product. It's going to be taken up top. I think it was a whip for something else, and we'll just pull it up. It's a much cooler system because our wall R12 without insulation, 10 to 12, and the dead air spaces. And that's very important, obviously, in a hot climate for horses and everything else. So there's no AC out here or anything, and it's much cooler. So I'll walk you through. So this is kind of what we look like before we get down in that.
We should try to go quick through this hallway because of the density.
So again, we're still in the building process. There's all our cabinets and everything that to go in.
Mirror of the other side.
Yep, and here we are. We've just finished stuccoing, and what you saw on the other side will happen in the next week or so. So this will have rubber mats to the sides. We'll run our water lines and ready to go. And you see those you see the whips of the electric up there, but if you look more to the middle, those little lines, that's the Mister system for the fly sprays and keeps horses, you don't want these expensive horses being bothered by flies and stuff like that. All the outlets in the top are for a fan system, so the fans run constant. So these horses that's why we call it a luxury horse barn. They have everything.
Where's the masseuse table for the horses?
That's the grooming stall.
Oh, he got one?
Yeah, basically the chiropractor comes in and they get massages, they get acupuncture, they get vets come and treat any little ailment. These are athletes. Imagine a training. Part of this barn is your training area where the trainers come in, all these different things to make your athlete, tip top. Otherwise, you lose the class or you lose the competition.
It's fun getting to see into the...
On here, it's debating. We want to show maybe just painted this building and not stucco it. We're talking with the client. But that part is stucco because we're going to put the main service for this whole farm is going to come off the road. It'll come back here, and it's a 400 amp service. Then that 400 amp service, we have the 2 feeds to the 2 rooms I showed you previously. So again, it's just another build in one way. The only difference is we're utilizing automation, and as we utilize it more and more, you're going to see the automation do more and more. But right now, we're in the beginning stages of the industry, obviously, or we wouldn't be the world's largest building, 3D printed building. And so it's the integration of building techniques that are currently used with these new techniques, and this will go on for years.
Nice. Anything else you want to say or add?
No, this is cool.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. This is the world's biggest 3D printed building.